I've been obsessed since then.
I'm not a bug person.
How can anyone come up with that taste? So I seriously love them.
Also need to pick up a bottle of soju.
Hello and annyeonghaseyo to part 2 of a very exciting episode in collaboration with the KCCUK Multi-Channel Network at the Korean Cultural Centre in London. I'm joined by my very special guests from the last video, which you can watch here, as well as in the description box below. The theme of today's video, much like part 1, will continue talking about South Korean food and cuisine. My name is Gigi Young from the channel Creatives Talk, where I introduce South Korean creative culture and South Korean subcultures. So, just like part 1 of the video, we're going to be talking more about South Korean food, but this time with a few additional elements. We're going to go straight on into our first question, which is, what is your go-to item or items that you have to buy when you visit South Korean supermarkets or shops?
For me, it would probably be snacks. I've always been into snacks in general, but the ones that Korean shops offer are very much more exciting than the normal ones.
Yeah, I would go for kimchi for sure, because I can't make it myself. Lately, I've been trying the champaghetti noodles because I found the name very interesting and they were really good, so recommend that.
So for me, my go-to items would have to be the radish, the chili flake powder and the chili paste, because most food contain those ingredients, and also need to pick up a bottle of soju, flavoured soju.
Definitely the pickled radish. I buy them for kilos. And ramen as well, the shin one, but there's a veggie version. It's a green package. That's lovely. Kimchi as well. And if I'm in Korea, banana milk.
Yes!
I seriously recommend that. So whenever I travel there, every single day, drink minimum 1 bottle. Korean people are just amazing. They can come up with so interesting snacks. How can anyone come up with that taste? So I seriously love them.
As we mentioned in part 1 of the video, South Korea has a different dining culture and a very different attitude and approach to eating out and ordering into the West. What brings to mind when you hear dining culture or restaurant culture?
One thing that we noticed, for example, it goes a lot around groups. And people just bond this way.
And I was impressed about the fact that you go out and have dinner with your colleagues as a bonding thing. I think that's a really great thing to do because, I think food brings people together.
Yes.
Sharing food. So for example, if you go to a Korean restaurant, usually you don't have your own portion, but there's a big bowl or there are several other bowls and everyone shares food from those. For some people, it can be shocking because you are not used to that. But I think that's such a lovely idea.
So when they pour you soju, you put it on the side, you drink it. When you serve the tea in Chinese culture, you kind of tap the table when someone pours you a drink. So it's like table manners.
Do you know any maybe food trends, food challenges, and food combination or fusion food?
Dalgona coffee was such a hype, and it has such a special creamy taste.
I've noticed that the kimchi, there's different variations and different recipes for that as well. I know there's the vegan version without the fish sauce, because when I was trying to make it, there were so many different recipes and I just didn't know which one, to follow. So I just picked the one which I thought was easiest and to get the right ingredients to make.
I think there has been a big surge in Korean cuisine, and Korean fusion is not to everyone's taste, but it helps bring together people who might not have tried it as easily before.
We're witnessing the inclusion, especially with kimchi. I think it's one of those ingredients that people are really getting aware of, and you see it more often everywhere.
On the opposite spectrum, have there been any foods that you have found a little bit challenging? So different to part 1, this isn't necessarily foods that you were maybe put off by, but maybe foods that you think that other foreigners will also have difficulty with.
Live squid is probably one of those things that scares me way too much, because I've heard stories of how it can just grab your tongue and make you choke and all that. that just, I'm not gonna try.
I think I would have a problem with eating bugs. Personally, I don't think I will ever try them. It's more likely that I would try the live squid than the bugs.
Okay.
I'd rather try the bug.
I'm not a bug person.
But that's the food of the future.
I think that we need to have a Korean food tasting.
Oh, we
have
should.
them all laid out.
Blindfolded.
Or in a box.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't know what it is, because you may try it and you may really love it,
Like
and
it.
then
No.
take the blindfold off. For those who've never tried Korean food, or perhaps there's a Korean dish that you would want to recommend, which restaurant in London or in the UK would you recommend?
I recommend kimchi. I would say they don't have a big variety. They do the most popular things, so you would find tteokbokki, japchae, a fried chicken. You can have some barbecue, but I think that the taste is milder compared to authentic Korean food.
For me, it would definitely be Sumak 39. It's a new restaurant right next to the Japan Center and Leicester Square. They even have jjajangmyeon, which is very, very hard to find in London. I've only found it in a couple of places.
I would have two recommendations. One of them is on the back. The portions are big, the price is really reasonable, and the atmosphere, the mood, the people are lovely there. And the other one is Gaza Soho, which is my ultimate bingsu place.
Yeah.
Bingsu is a shaved ice dessert, the heaven of bingsu.
So I went to a Korean restaurant the other day with my friend. It was Yori in Covent Garden. And that's a very popular one. Even when the celebrities come here as well, they go to that restaurant. And they do a very nice lunch menu, which is quite nice if you haven't had Korean food.
My recommendations are a little just outside of London, but you can get a Southwest train. New Malden is known as the largest Korean town in Europe. And as a result, if you like jjajangmyeon, there are two Korean Chinese restaurants that are well known in New Malden for having jjajangmyeon, Korean Chinese noodles with black bean sauce, as well as jampong, which is the other equivalent. It's a seafood noodle broth. Are there any foods that you have yet to try or want to try?
It sounds maybe very simple, but I've never had proper Korean porridge. When I visited my friend in Korea, the mom made some pumpkin porridge that was really nice.
For me, it would definitely be the hangover soup, because I got such a bad drinking experience in Seoul. I regretted not having hangover soup the next day. Why is it called like that? Does it work?
Since we're on the topic of alcohol, is in Korea you can buy these little green bottles before you drink, and it's supposed to help you not have a hangover the next day.
Wow.
Oh.
Well, if only I knew that before.
Yeah.
For me, it would be something, again, very simple, but I haven't had the chance to try, which is the Korean rolled omelette. I've seen people in dramas having it for breakfast, sometimes for lunch. Usually the mom makes them for the family. And also the other one that you cook in sort of a pot, and it's a very fluffy omelette.
계란찜, steamed egg. You can get that in some restaurants as well, and they'll often come in a traditional black pot.
So as we were talking before, I think I'd actually like to try the seaweed soup and also the kimchi pancake. I'm quite interested to see how that tastes as well.
Thank you.
And that's unfortunately it for part 2 of the South Korean food and cuisine journey that I've taken with the lovely Marianna, Huong, Frankie and Lily. Thank you so much for being part of this collaborative project for the KCCUK Multi-Channel Network as part of the Korean Cultural Centre in London. Obviously, I have not been able to cover the entirety of South Korean food and cuisine. So if this is something that I should revisit, do let me know in the comments or via social media. Thank you once again to my lovely guests. You can find out more information and more of their content via their social media pages as well as their YouTube channel.